Hi, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to show you my kitchen. So this is how it looks when it's mostly sort of clean these days, but for a long time it was a real mess. The ceiling was just exposed joists. Here you can see right after I had removed a chimney that went up behind that stove, just had roughly placed blue board patching the hole where that was. And that chimney had to go, and anyway, because it was falling down, and it gave us a couple square feet in the bathroom up above this and in the kitchen, so it was the right call. In this little corner, that black pipe is modern plastic, but it wasn't before. That was cast iron that had been rotted away, and you can see some of the water damage that had occurred and some upcoming slides. That little utensil holder is something I came up with for fun, and it still works great. I use it in the basement now for paintbrushes, and that's a better shot. You can see how the new plastic pipe slips up through there. It looks like we got that covered up now and starting to strip the paint off those cabinets. It's cherry face frames and plywood. Finally got some drywall on the ceiling now, so that's nice. This was an old built-in from the other side. Decided to keep that, but tear out the dividing boards and cabinets, upper cabinets for the kitchen to let the light through. The original shelves were pretty warped, so I rebuilt those. There's the radiator. I still use hot water heating, and I repainted that with that Rust-Oleum paint. With Greg's help, of course. Greg helped with the floor a lot too on this project. So I framed out the gaps that were left behind around that built-in. Here you can see the original window. This is a very old window. It's back to the 20s probably, and it's got kind of wavy glass from age, which is kind of neat. And so it's starting to trim that out with a mix of new and reused boards. And there's Greg. He approves of the elongated window stool. This is the situation under the sink. It's pretty messed up. You can see the plywood rotted away. So I did have to take that all down to the basement and recut and attach some of those pieces of the carcass. The floor there is a little messed up too. That's a better picture. So that's the opening for the sink and what's below it. For this kitchen, I bought a new sink from IKEA. It was within the budget. It had the built-in troughs for the water to drain down, which I like. I don't have a dishwasher, so everything just goes on that little dish rack. The countertop is a temporary thing I did when I first moved into the house, and it had worn out, so it's just plywood with polyurethane, so I just ripped that out. Also reused some of that as a shelf in the basement. There's a rare sighting of mica too there. Okay, so here I've added some drywall to cover up the gaps in the plaster. Try to leave as much plaster as I can throughout the house. I guess I'm getting started with some painting here. I did replace that lamp. Now that's an interesting picture because that is under the radiator, and I'm using those 2x4s to prop the radiator up, I don't know, about half an inch, so I could slip the new flooring under it without having to remove the whole thing, which is a real pain in the neck. New ceiling light there too. So I put down that plywood subfloor, and then I'm putting down the VCT, the vinyl composite tile. You gotta use that big roller to press it down. Greg enjoyed the flooring. Nothing is square in my house or any other house, and so that took a little while. But here we go. Things are starting to look a little bit more civilized. So yeah, it was pretty basic materials. You know, reused a lot of wood, bought MDF, Another plywood counter, rebuilt these shelves for that built in out of MDF. There they are there. Trying to save money and put some of that money towards buying some tools. I think I got a table saw and a miter saw on this, and a couple sanders probably. I polyurethaned the inside and outside of the cabinets, and I'm using those water-filled buckets to weigh down 2 layers of plywood for the new countertop. Doing something similar here, pressing against the ceiling of the basement to put pressure on the middle of that plywood. There's Greg checking it out. He approves. Put some oak 1 by 1/2 inch edge banding on the countertop, and then some solid oak boards for backsplashes. There's that IKEA sink, an IKEA faucet, another oak plywood with edge banding spice rack, and then another rack up above the stove and the refrigerator. So that is my kitchen. It's not fancy, it's not expensive, but it works. It cooks food.